It's automatic when we say amen, we always sit down. But okay, before you sit down, I want you to find someone, guys with guys, girls with girls, people that you don't know well. Ready? Go, find someone, one-on-one. Men with men, women with women, people you don't know too well. Okay, you might have to move around. Find somebody. All right, let's see. Fredo? Looks like Brian's left, the only one left. You don't know each other very well, so. All right. Okay. All right, here we go. All right, everybody. Okay. I assume you've already introduced yourself, yes? Okay. No, stay. All right. Okay, I assume you've already introduced yourself. Please tell each other what your high point of your day today was and what your low point of your day today was. And give a little bit of a why, all right? Make sure you ask the person why that is the case, all right? Go.
You're going to have to share this out loud.
No, it's private. It's between the two of you. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Everyone grab a seat, please. Make sure. I want to make sure that everyone has a set of notes right there from the chair. Make sure you have something to write with, and grab a notebook if you don't have one. If you have one at home, don't grab another one. Just take your stuff home and bring your notebook back next time. But make sure you have a notebook. Make sure you have a pen. Writing tonight is mandatory. I don't make you do it on Sundays, but I will make you do it tonight. Hopefully you'll want to. So we gave you a little divider so you can divide your sermon notes with your Lead VLC notes. Have a happy anniversary tonight. Hunter and Becky have been married 25 years today. How many of you have been married 25 plus years? How many are telling the truth? Yes. Yeah, okay, I believe. All right. How many of you are not yet 25 years old? Yes, I believe too. Yes, how many wish you were not 25 years old? Yes. Yeah. Me and Angie will celebrate 25 in September. 25? Seriously? 25. It was a good year.
It was a good year.
1990. 1995. Graduated high school in 1990. My bad. All right. Quick math. All right. Thank you so much for being here tonight. This is a very energetic room tonight. This is really good. Thank you for agreeing to do this journey with us. Thank you for taking the time to pray. Most of you, some of you said, I don't need to pray, I'm in. And that's cool. That's good too. But thank you for taking the time to consider and to go and to be on this journey with us. I think, like I said last when we kind of had the vision night, that this can be something that's really important for this church. And I think something that's really important for all of us individually as well. So tonight, my goal is to not stand here and you get to listen to Brad preach for an hour, because you already have plenty of that in your life, and I know none of you want that. And so I'm hoping that we'll be able to share some really good things, but we'll be interactive, and I've got some things that we're going to do to kind of help us learn as we grow, okay? So tonight, as you look at your notes, the point of tonight is, okay, let's lay the foundation. What is leadership? And I gave you the first definition there. It is the state or position of being a leader. That's all you need tonight, isn't it? We can go? All right. I knew that wasn't helpful, so I looked around for a little bit more. All right, here's another one that I found, and this I think is pretty good, actually. It is the art of motivating A group of people to act toward achieving a common goal. You're welcome for making you fill in all those blanks. It's the art of motivating a group of people to act toward achieving a common goal. All right? And so what I want to do is I want to talk through each one of those underlined words, because in order to get that big definition, we need to understand what each piece means. All right? So so I just put blanks behind that, below there. You can jot down whatever occurs to you, whatever you think is interesting, or you can doodle and whatever and pass the time. All right? So when you talk about leadership is an art, okay? Art is something that's very fluid. It changes, right? If you look at the most famous masterpieces of art, this one is, of course, by that one guy. And then there's another one that's this one, and this one is also by that guy. I think that's by Da Vinci, isn't it? Am I right on that one? Okay, was the first one Monet? Van Gogh, yes, Van Gogh. All right. Okay, this is by that guy. Does anybody know who that is? Okay, and then there's this one, which is, I think, just classic, right? And then there's this one, which is also by Michelangelo. Yes? Not the Ninja Turtle. The other guy, the other Michelangelo. But leadership is more like art than it is like math, because math has like the certain answers every time, right? Where art can be fluid and stuff like that. By the way, if you Google pictures of math, this is what you get. Okay? I did. I Googled pictures of math, and that's the first one that popped up. All right, it was that one, and it was also this one, and so that kind of makes sense also there. But so when you're doing art, you don't ever come to the right answer, right? That's why artists think differently, etc. Now, leadership is a lot like that because it changes, doesn't it? It changes with whatever situation you're in, with whatever group of people you are with how much skill the leader has, with a ministry that you're doing together. It might be a small project, it might be a big project. Maybe you're just leading your family, and that's a whole different style of leadership, isn't it? But you don't get good at art unless you do it, right? I still draw the same way I drew in middle school because it's terrible. And if you ask me to draw a guy, I'm going to draw a stick guy, or I'm going to make something weird because I haven't practiced it. I haven't been taught it. I haven't been anything like that. I haven't practiced it. So my art is not very good. So leadership is an art, and it changes and it's fluid, right? Leadership is an art, is the art of motivating. All right? Now, motivations can look very different depending on the situation, right? Sometimes it's the motivation arises out of necessity. Like motivation is a necessity. Sometimes it's hard to find motivation. Sometimes motivation finds you, right? Did anybody have a day like that today where I said, what's your low point? And you basically essentially described that trying to ride up a hill away from a grizzly bear. That's what you felt like you were doing all day today. I think we have those days. We've all have been there. It depends on, so motivation is different. Depends on what's in front of you. Sometimes your motivation to go to work is so that your family can eat. I mean, it's essentially that is it. Sometimes it's to save to go on a vacation. Those are two different completely things, but you do the same thing, all right? So it's a lot better, isn't it? When you have the choice to do something, you can be a lot more motivated in that situation, right? When we're forced to do things, that's not motivate. That's a motivation killer. And I think a lot of us in our jobs, probably all of us, have things that we have to do that we don't really enjoy. But then when you get to do the things that you love to do, man, that motivation just ramps up, doesn't it? So motivation has a lot to do with what you love to do, not just getting someone to do it out of motivation. When I was thinking about motivation, I was thinking about, when I think of what's my motivation, that's a good question to ask. What's my motivation in this situation? I've thought about this commercial, so let's play this commercial. I don't know if you remember this one.
This here freight train, he Pablo, me, I'm Motif. There's only one drink fat enough to quench our thirst, and that's Turbo Sport 7.
Cut! Genius! The can's upside down!
Don't talk to me like a child. I played Hamlet at Cambridge.
Once again, you've ruined my concentration.
Excuse me. What's my motivation?
When you're thirsty, trust your gut, not some actor.
That's it. I am going to my trailer.
All right. What is your motivation? I want you to turn and discuss with someone. What is your motivation, first of all, for being here tonight? Go, talk. Ready for the second question? What's your motivation for wanting to just improve yourself? In this situation with leadership, with any other thing that when you improve yourself, what's your motivation there? Okay, the third question. What's your motivation for the ministry that you're involved in? If you're involved in multiple, pick one. All right, ready? Leadership is what? The art of motivating a group. Let's talk about the word group. It's motivating a group. Leadership always involves someone else, obviously. If you are leading and it involves no one else, then you are not leading. It may be a group of one to a group of infinity, obviously. Oh, maybe not infinity, but big. I think different sizes of groups call for different styles of leading, right? You know, when our church was small, the way we led was different, and we were a staff. Our staff was involved in absolutely everything that we did. Now that we're a little bigger, we begin to delegate a little bit more, and we begin to do. We just lead differently. Okay, so it involves a group. Now, before we get to the word people, I want to give you a task. Okay, put your things down. All right. Now, how competitive are you? Are you competitive people? Okay. You're going to win no matter what. Is that the deal? All right. So we're going to pit this side, and the three of you need to participate because I need your numbers. All right. So this side against this side. And who do you think's going to win? Are you going to win? Are you going to win? Okay. All right. Here's your task. You need to get in order of your birthdays by month and day, no year, just month and day, okay? And there's only one deal, you cannot talk. Go. Perfectly silent. This is very close. All right, they're raising their hand. Where do we start? Okay, say your birthday as we go down the line.
January 8th. January 25th. February 2nd. March 5th.
March 17th.
March 29th. April 7th. April 27th.
June 4th.
June 9th.
August 21st.
September 18th.
September 10th.
Ah! Let's see if we keep going. Keep going.
September 19th.
22nd.
September 30th. November 9th.
November 21.
14th.
Ah! All right, so 2 misses. All right.
January 28th.
February 4th. March 11th.
March 14th. March 18th. April 6th.
April 8th. May 18th. May 25th. June 27th. July 5th.
July 28th. August 14th.
August 7th.
Ah! You going, Elle?
September 15th. Dang it. September 19th. September 19th.
First. I'm right here.
What you now you put yourself there? Does that count or not? Okay. Mal, what were you? Okay. Okay. So both teams finished at about the same time, but both had 2 mistakes. Not bad. All right. That was classic group leadership, right? So was there someone who took leadership within the groups? What about y'all's group? Was there someone who was leading? Sieb and Kev? Anybody? Okay. All right. So y'all point. Was someone leading over here? Amber did? Oh, Kim did? Okay. 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 What was the difficulty in not being able to talk?
To get people to move down, like we
Go. Just go. Any other difficulty in not talking? Was it you that were grunting, Eric? Hold on. Okay, hold on. Cheryl?
The day, like I knew there were a lot of September, so it was like, wait.
Which one are we doing? Which are we doing? Yeah. And if you're 28, yeah, exactly. Okay. All right. Okay. Is there anything now, looking back, that you wish you would have done?
Smaller group.
Anything else? Any other better way to do it than what you did? Could have wrote it down. How many of you have a phone in your pocket? Type it. All I said was don't talk. I didn't say you couldn't do anything else. I didn't. Okay. All right. How many of you have led or been in a group that was that frustrating as what you just experienced? Yes. How many of you are not leading the group and you're like, I'm dying here because you're a terrible leader? Yes? Yes, I've been there too. Yeah. Okay. Groups can be challenging, can't they? All right, have a seat. They can be challenging for sure. Okay, so leadership is the art of motivating groups of people. And that's when it gets tricky, right? Because people are tricky, right? I've always said that ministry would be way easier if there weren't people involved, right? None of y'all included in that, of course. But we find it's hard. And we're going to find out a little bit more about how we're wired and how each one of us is wired and how you, specifically how God has made you, and we do our personality stuff and our spiritual gifts and all that kind of stuff. We'll do that later. We're going to find out about how we are wired. But I want to show you how diverse we are. How many of you, by a show of hands, would say you are patient? Generally speaking, obviously none of us are perfect. Well, wait, I need to drop my hand. All right, how many of you would you say you're faithful? And however you describe that in whatever situation. All right? How many of you are funny? However you want to describe it. How many of you would describe yourself as introverted? Okay? How many of you would say you're extroverted? Okay? Who would... You are a little bipolar because you don't know how you are. All right. How many of you are, would you say you're strong? Like that describes you. Okay? How many of you are a loyal person? Like that's important to you. How many of you would say you're optimistic? How many would say you're pessimistic, generally speaking? How many of you, like my wife, who says, I'm not pessimistic, I am realistic? Yes? Like, okay. All right. All right. See, we are so different. I bet there's not one person that raised their hand that would equally match everything that you said about yourself. They would have a completely different list. And leading a very diverse group can be very frustrating, or it can be very fulfilling when you kind of see people come together, right? It depends on your perspective. I think most of us would think the world would be a much better place if they were just like us, right? Isn't that generally true? Or you're thinking, thanks, Billy. All right. I think that different people require different leadership, right? Even like if I just think back to my primary leadership role, which is within my home, right? I think about my 3 kids and how different they are. Cameron, if you let me use you as an example for just a second. Cameron was one of those kids where if you told him, Cameron, do not touch this water bottle, when he was 2 years old, he would still not be touching that water bottle. That's just how he's wired. That's how he's wired. But then you have a second child, and they're completely different. And Carson is awesome. I love Carson. But I remember one thing pops out of my head when he was about 2 years old, and we were out in the street, and I believe it was the day we were teaching Cameron to ride his bike. So he was like 5, which would make Carson a year and a half, something like that. And I remember him being, if our house was up here and we were out in the curb in the street, and I was like, you can be out in the front yard, but I'm working with Cameron, so you need to stay in the yard, right? You cannot go in the street. I look over, and what's he doing? Right? Okay, that's how he's wired. He's just like that. He just pushes. And he always like, okay, you told me not to touch this water bottle a minute ago, but now it's a minute later, so now I'm going to touch it, right? And you just got to, so I have to lead him differently than I had to lead Cameron. Avery's she's just a free spirit. She does what you want, and she's pretty, she's different than the 2 boys even. So you have to know them and understand them to know how to lead them. And I use my example of my home, but isn't that true with the people that maybe you lead in ministry, or that you lead at work, or you lead somewhere else? You've got to lead each person different. The key is to know your people well enough to know how to lead them. Okay? To know your people well enough to know how to lead them. Because you can't do a blanket. You can't do blanket leadership with people and hope to be effective. Okay? Leadership is the art of motivating a group of people to act, right? It's one thing to get people to believe that something should be done. It's another thing to get someone to act on their belief, right? Hi, Ella. Who are you looking for? It's another thing to get people to act on what they believe, right? A good example is, let's get real heavy for a second. Let's take the issue of abortion. How many of you believe that abortion should be outlawed? Pretty much all of us, right? How many of you have ever been an activist against abortion? Probably not many. Maybe a few of you here and there. Okay, I have a dear friend in Oklahoma. She got pregnant as a teenager and had an abortion. And since then, has matured in her life and has grown up and deeply regrets that moment of her life. Okay, because of that, man, she works at a crisis pregnancy center. She speaks out. She shares her story. She etc. She's moved because she was pushed to act because of her experience. Right? She has been pushed to act because she believes deeply. She has the motivation to be pushed to act in that situation. Okay, so leadership is all about getting people to believe enough to act. And my job on Sunday mornings is very difficult because my job is to try to motivate you to do something, right? And a lot of times I have no idea. I have no feedback. Sometimes you'll say, hey, that was good. I did this. But that rarely happens. Most of the time, someone might say, hey, you did a good job, or that was terrible, or whatever it was. But I don't live in your life, so I don't know if what I'm doing is right, is good or not. You know what I mean? From a motivation standpoint and getting you to act on what the truth is presented for the day. So that's a difficult thing, and as we say, everyone's action point is different, okay? So leadership is getting people to believe enough to act. And you know what? The harvest that Jesus talked about depends on it. Look at Matthew 9. Jesus went through all the towns and villages, teaching in their synagogues, proclaiming the good news of the kingdom and healing every disease and sickness. And when he saw the crowds, he had compassion on them because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. And then he said to his disciples, the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into his harvest field. So Jesus reveals the harvest to us, but the harvest depends on leaders leading, right? And us praying that leaders would lead. So leaders lead, people follow. The harvest is it's harvested, right? Whatever you do with the harvest, you bring it in, right? And God receives the glory. But to fulfill Christ's leading into the harvest, we've got to decide to act. And we've got to lead. We've got to step into the leading of that. And then we lead other people to act as well. And that's why the church is still here today after 2,000 years, because people have been faithful leaders to do that. Okay? So leadership is the art of motivating a group of people to act toward achieving something. Oh, darn. I had a great prop I was going to show you. Shoot. Achieving something together is important, okay? When I was growing up, and my family, my dad was a huge baseball fan, okay? So we grew up baseball fans too. And his favorite movie, and one of my favorite movies was The Natural. Yeah? Yeah. I tried to show it to my kids, and they were, I think, a little young because they're like, this is stupid. Why is that yarn coming off the ball? Like he could hit the cover off it, really? And so anyway, let me show you this. Let me show this. This is the trailer.
Someday when people look at me, they'll say, there goes Roy Hobbs, the best there ever was.
TriStar Pictures presents Robert Redford in The Natural, the story of a father and a son.
You got a gift, Roy, but it's not enough.
Of love.
He means the world to me.
And desire.
I'm not waiting for true love to come along, Roy.
A champion.
Roy Hobbs comes along once, maybe twice in everybody's lifetime.
And his destiny.
With or without the records, they'll remember you.
Best there is now, and best there ever will be.
I wouldn't bet against me.
I already have.
Robert Redford, Robert Duvall, Glenn Close, Kim Basinger, Wilford Brimley, Barbara Hershey, Robert Prosky, and Richard Farnsworth as Red. The Natural.
How many of you have not seen that movie? Wow, okay. That's your homework for next time. All right, you've got to watch it. All right, so about, 10 years ago, my dad, who's known to do, my dad's 85 now, and he's known to do just like random things. And you're like, I don't understand this, okay? So anyway, that's a whole nother story. But he made my brother a Wonder Boy bat. He made him a bat like that, which is Roy Hobbs' bat. Okay, so he had it like burned into a bat and everything, and gave it to him and everything. My little brother. So I'm home, and I'm like, what the heck, Dad? How come I don't get a Wonder Boy bat? I'm not Wonder Boy, apparently. And so he made me a trophy, which I was going to bring tonight because it sits on my shelf, and I meant to grab it. And it's a trophy, and it says, Brad Parkhurst, the best there ever was. Like, okay. All right, okay. We're even now. That's good. The only problem is, I did nothing to get that trophy. I achieved the trophy, but I did nothing to earn it. And ultimately, it means nothing other than my dad thinks I'm great, right? That is all I achieved in that. So it's not just achieving that's important, it's what you achieve, right? It's achieving what? Achieving a common goal. I think I've shared before that the power of many people pulling toward the same goal far outpaces going at it alone. You've probably heard the story. I think I've shared it, probably not recently, but the story of draft horses. This is a draft horse, massive, big old horses. That one horse can pull 1,000 pounds at one time, okay? Now, when you put 2 draft horses together like this, they can pull 24,000 pounds. 8,000 by themselves, 24,000 together. If they work and they're trained together and they work together over time, they can pull up to 32,000 pounds when they can only pull 8 by themselves. That is the power of working towards the common goal. That is the power of being united towards achieving something that matters together. That is what that power is. Hebrews 10 says, let's hold unswervingly to the hope we profess. For he who promised is faithful. And let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. The writer of Hebrews knew that it was important to encourage us to be together, to be meeting together, to be on the same path together, to be serving alongside each other, to be working towards that common goal. And it's so, anybody who says, I love Jesus, but I don't want to be a part of a church, you're missing out, and you're wrong. If you say you don't need the church, you're wrong, right? Do you believe that? I do. You've got to be involved in a church. Okay, so let's talk about how your leadership is. How is your leadership? Let me ask you three questions to determine your level of leadership right now. First question, is anyone following you? You need to look over your shoulder to see if anyone's following, and if no one's following, then you're not leading. A leader without followers is not actually a leader. So who's following you? And I want you to be honest about this. Would you write down some names right now? And maybe it's groups if it's, middle school guys or whatever. If you want to do that, that's fine. But write down some names of people that are following you in whatever way. It might be a job, might be at home, might be in a small group or in something like that, in a ministry. Who's following you? And it's okay if there's no one right now, if no one's following you, but you're here, that's good. But I want you to kind of get a perspective for yourself. Instead of talking about leadership up here, let's talk about, okay, what does this look like for me? What does this look like for my life? Okay? So is anyone following you? I'll give you just a minute. And then the second question I'd ask you is, who is following you? Hey, Brad, that's the same question. No, it's not, because I mean something different by it. When you are a high-capacity leader, you have high-capacity people that want to follow you, okay? So if you are the caliber of the people around you or on your team, point to the caliber of the leader that you are. I learned you ever heard of the law of the lid? The leadership lid, that's a John Maxwell thing, where if you are a leader, if you're a 7 out of 10 as a leader, anybody that's more than a 7 is going to hit up against you and is not going to be happy for long. Well, that's why you have to keep raising your leadership level so that more people will continue following you. Does that make sense? And I think we've all been in situations where we feel like we're better leaders than the people that are leading us, or and maybe in different situations, not in an arrogant way certainly, but you're just frustrated. So if you don't like what you find, then ask yourself why higher capacity people don't follow you. If they keep leaving your ministry or if they keep going somewhere else, then we need to take the steps that you need to change that. And I think you've taken your first step tonight to be in a leadership development place. Okay? And then the third question I'd ask you is, who are you following? I think that it's important to talk about the podcasts maybe that you listen to, or blogs, or books you read, conferences you go to, etc. But while you can learn a lot from those types of things, I want to talk about the people that you hang out with the most. So ask yourself, who do I spend the most time with? Who is building into me personally? Who's mentoring me? Who am I building into? Who am I personally leading? Who am I there? Do I spend the most time with people who are like who I want to be in 5 years? Okay? Are the people closest to me helping me grow as a leader? This little statement I read a couple weeks ago, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And that's true, isn't it? You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And if you're a stay-at-home mom and it's, okay, I've got my husband and 4 children, you're in trouble. I'm just kidding. Leanne, yes. Okay, so I want to give you 4 ways to unlock your leadership. Okay? I want to encourage you to, first of all, to lead from your heart. The heart of the leader is the truest part of who we are. Okay, it's our hearts, it's the center of our emotions, our desires. It's what connects us with each other. It's the relational development of leadership. So when we think about leadership, lead from the heart. Here's some practical ways to connect personally. If you're in a meeting, if you're leading someone in a meeting, connect personally with people before you jump into the business of the meeting. Okay, if you are doing that, that's every week in staff meeting, we always talk about what's going on in our lives before we jump into the business of the church because we care about each other and we want to connect personally like that. Know what your team members are passionate about outside of church. Okay, I think we have the tendency within church to just always talk about church. Talk about what's going on outside. Make sure you know your team members outside, and then give them, praise your team, give them feedback, praise the people that you're leading, give them some support, lift them up, give them some good feedback. Okay? Anybody have a comment on leading from your heart, or anybody that you have seen that say, this is how this person led from their heart, or this is how I've done this before, or anything like that? Kim?
I'll use somebody in this room, but Bonnie, she does, and she's encouraged us to lead that way, like with the middle school girls, and in doing that, we not only do we share personal stuff to begin with, find out what they're passionate about, which was drama in this case, and then go from there and put it to action and went and saw them perform.
Okay.
So the whole thing just kind of came all the way around. It meant the world to them.
Yes.
So it's cool.
That's really cool. Most of the time, drama means something different to a middle school girl, but
Okay.
yes.
They performed in a
Acting.
They were acting.
Yes. I want to make sure I clarify that.
Sorry.
Somebody else have an example of someone who's led from the heart, Chris?
Well, just something I've learned is when you are leading, you're going to encounter a difficult situation. And when you find yourself in that difficult situation, if you don't have a relationship with that person, it's really hard to communicate about that situation.
Mm-hmm.
So the heart comes so much first to have a relationship, to even have a foundation for handling any sort of difficult situation.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Bobby?
I think sometimes we get afraid of tension. Tension is not bad. Tension is good. Tension can be really good. Get things accomplished with tension. And I think that's what like this. Forging, you need heat, you need pressure.
That's good. Okay. Anybody else? Example of someone leading from the heart? Okay.
In my experience, you don't necessarily leading from your heart first 5 or 10 minutes. You supposed to lead. You lose them very quickly. I've seen where I've led purposely from the heart and gotten big responses at different groups that seem less qualified to be as private. Like lead from the heart and get a response from people that lead a lot more genuine, a lot more quicker.
That's good. Yeah. Break down some barriers right away. Good. Okay. Second thing is to lead from your soul. The soul is the part of us that longs to know God. Leading from the soul is about developing the character of Christ, okay? And our greatest motivation as leaders should be our desire for those we lead to see God in us. And when we lead from the soul, we model what we value, okay? We show what we value, and what we intend and how we act, those things come together. Those things are aligned So ways to lead from your soul is to pray for your team members regularly. I don't care if they're in the church or if they're on your job site. Pray for them regularly. Also, don't gossip, complain, or criticize others. And pray for wisdom for yourself and those you lead, and be a servant. Attend also to your spiritual growth and to your health. People that you have seen lead from their soul. Anybody that's done some of these things?
I find it's much easier to like people when I pray for them.
Yes. I was waiting for more, but that's all that needed to be said. Drop the mic and walk off. That's right, Carolyn. That's true. Somebody else? A thought? You see, you.
Michael Rouse, you got to see him talk about Joshua and talk about heart and soul.
Yeah. That's good.
His heart and soul for seeing men here.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I'm a Joshua Medal alumni. So.
Awesome. Good. Anybody else? Yeah, Katrine.
I would say Bonnie.
Okay. Because?
Because they pushed me to, I was one of them, they pushed me and then led me in the right direction, led me close to Jesus, and prayed for me and things like that.
That's good. Amen. Yeah.
Looking at my career,
Uh-huh.
like, Katrina is like, got right in the heart of that. Yeah, Eddie Bonnie's two of the first and only leaders I've ever had that was in that kind of heart.
That's awesome. Well done. I guess they'll be teaching from now on. Good job, you guys. I love it. Third one, lead from your mind. You know, the mind is where we process things intellectually. It helps us strategize to make plans. It's where we find clarity, where God gives us wisdom. How do you lead people from your mind? Commit to by growing. To commit to growing by reading, listening to podcasts, going places, conferences, stuff like that. Set goals, create follow-up plans to measure results. These are just some things to keep in mind. Define systems and strategies that will help your team accomplish your mission, to be specific in that. Devote time to learning from mentors or others who will stretch and challenge your thinking. And commit time to being still and quiet before God as well. Allow the Spirit to replenish you when you feel depleted. To allow that replenishment from the Spirit to come, to replenish your mind. I heard a podcast, a leadership podcast actually this week, that where the guy was talking about the difference between being tired and being depleted. Those are two different things. If you're tired, you can just take a nap. If you're depleted, that takes a longer time to come up out of it, doesn't it? And so being still and being quiet, finding that moment for the Lord to just kind of give you some peace and give you some stillness is important. Thoughts on leading from your mind, or an example of someone who does? Anyone? Or something that you've done maybe in here that's been helpful for you? Yeah, Bill.
One of the things we do at work with the staff there is we have a monthly staff meeting, and we read a leadership book.
Okay.
At the staff meeting, everybody talks about it, so we kind of learn from that together as a team. And we talk about how important that is for the whole organization.
Very good. Good thing to do in your workplace. Yes.
I think when listening to podcasts, anytime that you can fill your mind with other than something like gaming on social media, leadership stuff, it's always good. You said that I'm listening to an Andy Stanley podcast, and it is just enticing. It makes you hungry. You should get a little bit of that.
Yeah.
You want more.
Yeah.
Especially related to leadership, to Bible leadership or Christianity.
Is that an Andy Stanley leadership podcast or preaching podcast? A leadership podcast, okay. There's another one that if you look on the very back or bottom of your notes, very back page, see that those links? A couple of the things that I shared with you tonight come from those links. That guy, but if you go to that place, Carey Nieuwhof, he's the leadership podcast that I listen to the most. And he has guests on, and he's incredible. And his the way that he does that. So you can find that there on that blog. Okay? Yeah. Pat?
County, our director, Rick Grisham, he always challenges to reading something for leadership to the lower service. And about what does he know? Most of the time it's like, I'm reading this, what do you read?
Okay. It's good. It's good.
On the worship team, Cameron Parker's has us meet regularly. We try to meet every Wednesday, not just to practice, but to spend time together, do life. It's almost like a worship vertical group, and it's really not optional. It's part of what we do. It's just, I see that as a good example.
Absolutely.
Whether it's how life was during the week, or reading the picture, just having good discussions. So,
And that's
we don't just show up and practice and run through it, and you guys do it on Sunday. It's more relation.
yeah.
And I like that.
And that's mind and soul and heart, isn't it? It's a little bit of all those. It's good.
I think the rest part of this one is just huge. Like, it's so easy, and I've seen this in my own life, like, so easy when you have so many details to take care of, and it kind of gets you cloudy sometimes, where like you're trying to do so much, think about so much, like your mind is processing so much, and if you don't like take the time to build quiet time, and I say quiet time, like not just like time with the Lord, but like actual quiet time, like time where there's no noise, where you're just sitting and processing and just like allowing God to replenish you. Like the weeks that I don't build that into my routine, it's rough. Like you'll run yourself out, you know. And when you build that into your week, it's a lot easier to approach what's in front of you and the things that you need to manage and things you need to think about a lot clearer to really get the most effective use of time.
Yeah. It's good. And a lot of times that's the first thing that goes out of our week, isn't it?
Right.
When we're busy.
Right.
And that's the biggest thing that we need.
I think it's one of the greatest warnings for a group like this. This is a group of doers, and do, and do, and do, and then you're depleted. Where's the strength come from? Once it's not. And I'm one of the worst offenders. I can be as distracted as anybody in that scattered mind. You're just like, where am I even going?
Right.
And then you lean on your own strength. So just to encourage each other, it's good.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Ellis?
Just think back to one of the sermons we did a while ago, we talked about when you take things out, that's part of it, but if you don't fill it back in, then I think that's just a huge reminder to know we're be really careful with maybe what we're allowing in, but not replenishing it.
That's good. Anything else? Leading from your strength. I think that leading from your strength, what I mean by that is that the people that you lead need to know that you deeply believe in what you're doing, right? I think that we, again, probably have been under people that are just kind of flaky. And we're like, why are you even here? What are you even doing? So when you are serving under someone or when you are leading someone, to let them know that you strongly believe in what's happening and where you're going. You're putting everything into it. You yourself are being disciplined. You're persevering. You're taking initiative. You're working hard. Then people want to follow that. I think that that gives people the vision that they can follow. That gives people hope that you can accomplish whatever goal it is you're trying to accomplish, that gives them when you believe that it can be done, then they believe more easier that whatever it is, whatever the task is, whatever you're trying to do can be done. So here's some practical ways to lead from your strength. To be clear about the vision that you feel called to. Know your strengths and do your best to organize your work to play to these strengths. So if you have something that you're weak in, pull someone along to help you with that within the group. And then intentionally point out how each team member's contribution impacts the vision of the organization. That's just letting them know that where we're headed, I know we're going to get here, and here's the role that you are playing for us to get here. And that's important. That inspires someone to keep moving along in that direction. Okay? Any thoughts on that? On strength in leadership?
I think one of the greatest strengths in leadership is to be able to recognize those other strong people around you, so that you can build pillars to help support you
Uh-huh.
when you're down.
Mm-hmm.
And it holds up the canopy of the roof above you.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important that 3, 4, 5 other people in your ministry be able to call upon. I mean, Brad's having a bad day, somebody else can step in.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I just recognize that let them know that makes sense.
Right. Right.
So they follow the vision to the goal.
Yeah. 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 It's good. Anybody else? Any other thoughts? Okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to leave. We're going to come to the big idea every session, every time we're together. So I want you to write down 3 things that you want to take as action points. These are things that you you've learned, new stuff, things that you want to do. I really would like them to be things I want to do, things I want to change, things I want to begin thinking, begin believing, begin acting on, begin whatever it is, things that you are. They're action things to do as you walk out here in a few minutes. What are your action points tonight? would you maybe just bow for a minute? And would you pray specifically for those 3 things that you just wrote on your page? Would you pray that the Lord would help you to remember to do those things? That you would, if you need wisdom as far as how or when or what, ask Him for wisdom for those things? Just chat with Him for a minute about it. And then would you just turn with a little group of 3 or 4 that's right around you, and let's pray together. Someone within the group lead that small group in prayer, and then I'll close us and we'll be done.